Hello viewers, welcome to Kids Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a 2014 Mercedes Sprinter with a 2.1 liter. The complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash while the engine is running. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect a scan tool to the vehicle to see what kind of trouble codes we have in the engine computer. I'm gonna get the scan tool connected to the vehicle and then I'll bring you guys back up. We have 4 codes in the engine computer. The first code is P2047-96 and it says the ADBLUE system cylinder bank 1 has a malfunction. There is an internal component fault. And then the second code is P1403-1F and it says the control unit ADBLUE has a malfunction. There is a sporadic fault. So it looks like we have a bunch of fault codes for the ADBLUE system. Now I'm very familiar with this trouble code. It looks like the valve or the ADBLUE injector is faulty, or maybe the wiring of the ADBLUE injector is faulty. So all these codes over here we have in the engine computer are coming from the ADBLUE control unit. So now let's scroll down and see what else we have. We got 0 codes in these control units. We have the same trouble codes in the ADBLUE control unit, so 4 codes. Okay, the first one here says the ADBLUE system has a malfunction. There is a general failure. And then the second one says ADBLUE mirroring valve 1 has an electrical fault or an open circuit. There is an open circuit. So this mirroring valve over here, this ADBLUE mirroring valve, is the injector that's installed in the exhaust system. The injector that sprays the diesel exhaust fluid in the exhaust system to reduce the level of NOx emissions that get out of the tailpipe. So we are going to go ahead and test the circuit of this mirroring valve. This is usually caused by an open in the wiring of the mirroring valve or a defective valve itself. So this should be pretty straightforward. So now let's scroll down and see what else we have. So we have 3 codes on the generic side of the tool, and over here, this code over here says reductant injection valve circuit high, bank 1 unit 1. Okay, so there's most likely an open in the mirroring valve circuit. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the engine computer, and since we have 4 trouble codes here, we're going to erase these codes and see which one is going to come back first. So we have 4 trouble codes there. Let's erase the codes and see what happens. This is pretty straightforward. Our issue is probably going to be an open mirroring valve. So we erased the codes. I'm going to read the codes again. So no fault codes right now. I'm going to back out. Let me start the engine. So let's read the codes again while the engine is running. So no codes is coming back. Now I'm gonna turn off the engine. We have a couple codes in the ADBLUE control unit. One trouble code says that there is an open in the ADBLUE mirroring valve circuit. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go under the vehicle and get access to the injection valve. We're going to test the wiring of the ADBLUE mirroring valve. If the wiring of the ADBLUE mirroring valve is good, and then we're going to go ahead and replace the valve. But before we replace it, we're going to test it first. Now let's go under the vehicle and do that. Here is our ADBLUE mirroring valve. We're going to test the wiring of the valve. I'm going to disconnect the valve. I'm gonna use this test light to test the wiring of the ADBLUE mirroring valve. So I'm gonna back probe these two wires, and I'm gonna use my scan tool to turn the mirroring valve on and off. If the wiring is good, we're gonna have power and ground at the wiring to turn on the mirroring valve. And when we have power and ground at the connector, our test light is gonna come on. And when the test light comes on, that's gonna indicate to us that the wiring is good. And at that point, the problem is going to be a defective ADBLUE mirroring valve. So this metering valve could be bad. Okay, so we are connected to the ADBLUE valve connector. So I'm going to have you watch that test light as I turn on the valve with the scan tool. Unfortunately, the scan tool does not allow me to turn on the mirroring valve. There is no option on my scan tool for me to turn on the mirroring valve. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in the vehicle and cycle the key on and off. Hopefully this valve gets toggled when the key is cycled. If not, we're gonna go ahead and remove this valve and do a resistance test of the winding inside the ADBLUE mirroring valve. Now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and turn the key on and off. Key is off, key on, key is off. We have cycled the key on and off, but the test light did not come on, so I believe this mirroring valve does not get toggled when the key is turned on, but that's fine. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this valve, and then we're gonna do a resistance measurement on it. We're gonna disconnect the connector, the line that goes on the back of the mirroring valve. This line over here supplies DEF to the valve. So we're gonna press this and push the line back. So just like that, we got the line disconnected. And now we're gonna undo this clamp to disconnect the mirroring valve from the exhaust system. And then after we get the valve out, we're gonna do a resistance measurement of the winding of the valve. All right, so here comes our mirroring valve. Okay, here it is. Now let's take this valve to the bench and do a resistance measurement between these two pins over here. We're gonna take a resistance measurement of the winding of the ADBLUE mirroring valve. So we have our multimeter here. We're gonna turn it on and put it on the ohm scale. Now we're gonna measure the resistance of this valve. Now on the good valve, we should have a resistance of 13 ohms or less. So it should be between 12 and 15 ohms. Anything above that is not good. So let's take a a resistance measurement of this valve. Okay, so we have high resistance on this valve. This valve, the value over here is 29.3 ohms. So this valve over here has high resistance. So the coil winding on this injector has high resistance on it. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get a new valve from Mercedes. And once I get a new valve, I'll bring you guys back up so we can test that. $500 later, we got this valve. Here is the part number. Here's the Mercedes part number. So now let's take a resistance measurement of the new valve. So let's get this out of the box. This is an expensive valve. All right, so old one, brand new. Now we're gonna do the same test. Let's take a resistance measurement of this valve and let's see what happens. Look at that, huge difference. On the new one, our resistance is 13 ohms. And this one, the resistance was 29 ohms. So high resistance on the old one and good resistance on the new one. Okay, so this is bad, this is good. Okay, so the computer could not turn this on because the resistance of the winding on this injector was too high. That's why we had an open code in the ADBLUE computer. So now I'm gonna go ahead and install this valve. And after we install this valve, this is gonna be good to go. So let's take this to the vehicle and install it. Okay. So Nick, can you go ahead and hold this for me? It has a little groove where it goes in. Yeah, just keep it down like that. Okay, nice. We're gonna tighten that and we're gonna make sure it's sitting well.
Does that just push on?
Yeah, that just pushes on. There you go, perfect. All right, so that's it. I'm gonna reconnect the electrical connector. We're good to go. I already erased the codes in the van, so we should be good to go. So now I'm gonna lower the vehicle so we can wrap up this video. All right guys, so we have replaced the ADBLUE mirroring valve. The problem on this van was the ADBLUE mirroring valve had high resistance, and we tested it, we replaced it, now all is well. So we're gonna drive this van out of the shop, and after that, it's gonna be good to go. I'm gonna leave this video here. I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell us why so we can make better videos in the future. I have brother Nick here. Thank you so much for your help.
Driving this home.
He's gonna be driving this home. He's gonna let us know how it goes. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.